What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Core Podcast covering all things Apple TV Plus. My name is Jim, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Luke and Kyle. And today we continue our coverage of Apple TV Plus's Foundation Season 3. Today we're covering Season 3, Episode 9, titled The Paths That Choose Us. Luke, Kyle, it's been a while since I said this. What do? Go. Which one wants to start first?
Go ahead, Kyle.
I can go. Yeah, that works. I really like this episode. I don't know if it necessarily fits into a banger category in the sense of we're getting like these big spectacles, but lots of fantastic conversations. Demerzel just continues to steal the entire show, almost every episode for me, which I will not complain about at all. She's fantastic. I like how we almost got like a little hint, nudge to something that we've been talking about forever of it's so nice to have her actually have conversations with people to get to think, to actually get information on what she's thinking about. That happened a ton this episode, which I'm excited to talk about. And so, yeah, I think this will be a really fun conversation. I feel like we're in a good spot before the finale, and it'll be interesting, I think, as we talk of how we kind of feel about where we are going into only one more episode. That's 1 hour, maybe. I don't know what the actual runtime is, but it's only an hour, so we'll see.
Dude, I can't decide where I'm at if the mule is surviving next episode. I won't say that this episode made me more confident in the opinion that he will not make it out and will die. Like, I'm not saying that, but I don't think it relieved any of the pressure on what's going to happen with his character. We'll see. There was a ton of theory crafting material in this specific episode. We're going to have a lot of time to have guesses on the board of what we think of how things are going to play out. But I will say that this is probably the most questions I've ever had of the show. Like, I need some of the things that happened here kind of explained, or usually I think I have a decent grasp on it, but I think after we talk it all out, I'll either completely agree with Kyle or just land on that this was one of the lower.
Not gonna agree with me?
I didn't hear your opinion on the episode yet. I'm saying
I thought you meant like Kyle was going to explain it to you and you're going to be like, all right, cool.
No. I meant his opinion on the episode. Like
I can explain things, bro.
I could go either way in how I feel about this for the season. But overall, it's going to be fun to talk about. There's so many things I want to get out there on the board for us to predict for the finale.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. Kyle, I didn't feel like it was a banger of an episode, but it was something that I really enjoyed. There are a few things that I definitely want to talk about. There's a lot of theory crafting. There are a few questions that I had as well. And there's one part that was a little underwhelming to me that I thought would be a lot more important. But again, we'll talk about it. I don't need to keep going here. So let's just go piece by piece and we'll talk as we go. Kyle, what's up?
I just want to give a quick shout out. We talked last episode about the humming the song of Demerzel. It was actually is Demerzel's theme, and a lot of people on YouTube were like they've been using that theme since pretty much the third episode of the entire show and series. So just a great example of
I said that, but I wasn't confident when I said it.
We're not necessarily the experts. We just happened to buy the microphones and the subscription and set this aside to talk. But that's why it's so nice having the YouTube comments, having the Discord, all that stuff to just get involved in that way and to learn things from people that are better at watching the show than we might be.
Yep. I have a victory lap I want to take later, but we'll save that. It's a little cue up for me to, praise myself. So we're going to start on Trantor, and we're going to take the low-hanging fruit of going through Cleon Day's storyline down in Mycogen, which is probably the end of Mycogen as a setting based on how this episode ends with him escaping and heading back towards the palace. But this is really two combined scenes. We had him falling into the Star Wars-like swamp that I thought something was going to be down there. It didn't turn into that. Yeah, I really thought they were taking inspiration from that. Could have been, but it was just him escaping, and almost immediately Song helps him. We talked about that she was convinced after their conversation when he was on the truth serum. So it didn't surprise me, but I was surprised at how easily he got up, found Sunmaster, and then murdered him and took the robot head before leaving. And just to throw my opinion out there, and I'll throw it over to you guys, like, Sunmaster goes down as a wasted potential character for me, especially because me and Kyle got a little excited with it being Riorio, and I thought there was just so much that they could have left on the bone to even have a season 4 storyline if they wanted to not do a huge time skip. But yeah, Day gets killed. There isn't a lot of resistance, and he just bounces without too many confrontations.
Yeah, so I'm glad we're getting this out of the way first because this is what I was talking about underwhelming. I didn't really buy any of this part with Day, and usually Days is the best parts of the TV show. We have this whole thing going on where Day is on a journey and he lands here and he gives his big speech. And Luke, I don't believe, like, I don't know, is he definitely on Truth Serum when he gave that speech? I thought that he was just, I know that they,
I meant
like,
that Song got convinced in the actual original True Serum trip,
oh,
and
okay,
then
okay,
before she could have an opinion, her life mate Ocean Glass, right?
okay, right.
Already reported him.
Yeah, yeah, okay, so, all right.
Mhm,
So, anyway, he gives his big speech. They say, "Sorry, bro, you're gonna die anyway." They open it. We're talking about him falling. Is he gonna die? He's probably not gonna die, but what's this gonna
mhm,
be? He falls into this swamp thing. He's not really in too much peril. He falls through. He gets sucked into the sewer thing. Song douses him with some water, says, "You're good to go, bro." He goes
mhm.
up. He fights through all the people that I'm just gonna call him the bad guy, says, "Beat him up, kill him, take him." Day just whoops a little ass for 2 seconds, goes up to the guy, takes the head and stabs him and throws him off the balcony. I mean, it's fine, but it's just didn't do anything for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think on paper, if it was summarized to me, I'd be like, okay, like
Yeah.
but kind of watching it felt like, okay, we're really cutting to the chase. Which
Turbo.
I mean,
Yeah.
walking away with, I really, I think I'm walking away with his quote that when Song or Ocean Glass says to him, you're doing like a great thing for humanity or whatever it may be, and then he responds with, "I would settle for doing a great thing for her."
Yeah.
Talking about, I believe, Demerzel, which is just
Demerzel.
such a 180 on his entire character. I know that, a shroom trip can save your life through other people that have told me that. I've seen that on the internet, no personal experience myself. And it seems like that's just kind of been the flip totally in his story. And we see him later on, and he's kind of wandering on what I guess we would call, level, zero, the surface, whatever it may be. And I'm just excited for his next scene now.
Yeah.
I feel like we've
Mhm.
left the growth, we've developed the character. It probably happened quicker than we anticipated it would, but we're kind of on a beeline to Demerzel, which is enough to make me be like, okay, that's fine.
He was
That's
such an
fair.
MVP in the first half of the season, and I was remembering talking about it on the podcast. Like, we hit the halfway point, and it felt like he had so many important scenes. We were gassing him up every time we could talk about him, and then he just became such a, not even a B plot, but almost like a C plot. They just slow burned it. He only got 1 or 2 scenes an episode up to this point. It's almost like they just sped to where they needed to get him, and then they just didn't have a plan, so they just milked it for these last 3 episodes with Riario and Song and Mycogen. And now hopefully he gets front and center and has a really impactful moment in the finale, because he did, from like episode 6 to 9, didn't do much for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's still the man. I love Lee Pace, but it just felt like he was on pace to be like the best portrayal of a
He
character
was
for the
on
entire
pace.
show. Yeah, he was on Lee Pace for that. And then it sort of took a backseat. It's not like it's a problem. It's just I thought he was going to have more to
Yeah.
do.
This was the first time I really felt it. And the way that they turbo drove it made me realize, like you said, Luke, how much of a slow burn it really was the last few episodes. I think that there was plenty of good stuff in the last few episodes. The hallucination, giving us all
Mhm.
of that information about him and Demerzel herself, that was all cash money. It felt like we always say Day is one of the main characters, one of the main plot points of the show. And you said it, he's been more of like a B or C plot. He'll become, hopefully, back into the A plot when he brings the head to Demerzel, and we'll talk about what we think is going to happen there. But the turbo drive on just like thinking he's in peril, where we literally are theorizing, did we just lose Lee Pace? Did we just lose Lee Pace? Is he dead? I mean, we guessed he wasn't dead, but I was almost wondering if he was going to be in peril all the way until like the end of the season finale, not just, oh, he falls into a swamp and he's good and let's just kill the bad guy and run for Demerzel. But Kyle, you did make a good point. Getting from A to B, if it's turbo drive and it gets us to him giving the robot head to Demerzel and then bringing him back into the A plot, I think I'm probably fine with the turbo drive. It just felt weird when I was watching it this episode.
Yeah, it seemed like too so we got a comment in the Discord or a message. I don't know if you would even call it a comment. And talking about, how the show has been utilizing some of the smaller details from the books to kind of create their own narrative, but staying true in a way that's still kind of possible for how different it is in the moment. And they mentioned that Harry, there's a short story in the books where Harry goes to Mycogen and meets a character named Sunmaster
Okay.
14. And so it's just like you can kind of piece together that they just kind of created this side plot for him to go on like this character development journey, which, is totally fine with me. And the result of it, I'm okay results thinking with this storyline at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. It works
All
for
right.
me.
Let's get to a big boy scene here, and we're going to flash over to the palace on Trantor. And I'm going to actually combine the first scene we get of the mule this episode when he's talking to Dawn. It's really just him communicating in and having a conversation with Dusk. So just to set the scene, Demerzel takes the place of Empire, goes and talks to Cyril Farrell, Cloud Dominion, and just everybody that's important and have been threatening the place of Empire and threatening to mutiny in favor of the mule. And this is when it all happens. It all comes together. Dusk isn't even in the room itself, but he does call into the mule and lays it all out on the table. He proves that he is still a powerhouse and that the Empire can use this last ditch effort, which is the stick of the black hole bomb that we've been talking about forever. I think that you can say that Demerzel signed off on this plan because she was really the face of it in the room. But what he does is just eliminates the Maiden and also eliminates Cloud Dominion and then also destroys the Galactic Council planet all in one foul swoop. Just black hole bomb, black hole bomb, black hole bomb. So who knows if that's still going to lend itself to still being the cause of what Gaal and Demerzel saw in the vision. That's definitely possible, but I already feel like the black hole bomb was worth it from a narrative point of view, where it wiped some things off the table of the political landscape that I didn't even know was possible. So like I'm okay with that have been the purpose, and now it's just there as like a scare tactic to the mule, because that's what Dusk ends up saying. And it was just a crazy scene. It happened so fast. It happened so early in the episode. I thought it was well done, and I'm just happy that there's a chance like the black hole bomb's not going to just kill all the other characters we have and then time skip into a new group in season 4. So it was just a really insane scene. I'm still kind of taking it all in though. How about you guys?
Season 1 Empire would be proud of Dusk. The finger flick, he should have done that when he was killing off these planets. There was an ounce of me for a second that thought that it was maybe like a fake hologram just to show them don't mess with me, right? But then it really does come back to who Empire is. This is the closest we've seen one of the Empires acting like the original Cleon from season 1 at least. It's the closest we've seen in a very long time. The Wrath. I mean, you saw in the episode where he freaking smashes the ferret. This Dusk is not messing around. And we talk about, I'm saying this episode wasn't a banger. Well, this is major stuff going down for the entire universe. And I don't know that this Dusk is going to sit back and allow himself to be reduced to ash. We've talked about it. I don't think this Dusk is going down without a fight.
He's playing like he is. I mean, he's kind of selling it as like, this is my like grand flourish. But yeah, it doesn't. I don't know how much it feels like he maybe trusts Demerzel, but I don't know how much he trusts just kind of leaving it to decanted people.
Right.
Decanted by 2 of them plus a baby and those things. It's hard to tell how satisfied he is with the results. I think he's quite satisfied with himself in general, but how confident is he in the warning? The quote itself is fantastic of MULE, take the warning, don't fuck with Empire.
Yeah.
Point taken for sure.
Right.
Point, slammed across without a doubt. But yeah, I don't think I buy it either. I don't think he's, he almost like mentions it too much.
Yeah.
So he's not fighting back on it, though. He has reaffirmed maybe 2 or 3 separate times this season, at the least, and 2 of them being in this episode, that he is fully ready to die. I don't know if the conversation with the ambassador from the Foundation, Quent, is going to change his mind, because that obviously is going to leave a terrible taste in his mouth, and then he's going to start reflecting on his legacy, and he might just go crazy and just tell Demerzel that no, because if you're Demerzel, you kind of need him right now, and I don't understand what the biological limitation is on letting him just stay another week while things settle down. It seems like she's so set on, yeah, tomorrow you're dead. And he's like, I know, like, and he's not even fighting back on it. So that's like a conversation in itself, and maybe we save that for when he's walking through the Museum of Cleons. But I want to focus on for a second, at least, on the Mule's reaction to this. We didn't actually get to see Dawn's reaction too much. They talk about it in the aftermath for like a second, and he does seem shook. Like, this is the second time the Mule's been shook in the last 2 episodes, which makes me think that he's going to live, because he just really, like, while he did have the upper hand for like a minute, it's really only been the pilot or the episode 1 of this season, and then after Calgon got destroyed, are the only 2 moments he's really been in complete control, and it wasn't going according to Foundation's plan. It just feels so weak to me now for him to just be eliminated in the next hour of television. And I don't know, because then he says the line here where the Empire has a big stick, but not a long stick. If he could have killed and destroyed New Terminus and just wiped us all out, he would have done that. This is where one of my biggest questions comes in that I was kind of hinting at the top of this episode. I have no idea what that means, and it doesn't feel like they wrote the black hole bomb in any way where we can really guess about what that means, because like we have no concept of how far away planets are from each other. So is it actually an issue of distance? Is New Terminus really that much farther away than where the Galactic Council planet is? Because if that's the case, and that's what that means of a big stick but not a long stick, they didn't do a good job of really explaining how far away things are that we would know that that's a limitation. So I don't know, maybe I'm just reading way too into that, and just what does that actually mean? Like, why can he not hit New Terminus? Do they have some sort of defenses? Like, I just don't know.
I mean, I took it straight up as distance. I thought that we knew that New Terminus was on the outer rim. Is that what it's called? Outer Reach, Outer Rim? Which one is it? Star Wars.
It's Outer Reach, because it's Corporation Rim from Murderbot.
Okay. We know that Foundation originally was on the Outer Reach.
It's out there, man. It's out there.
It's out there, man. It's really out there. I don't know. I always just assumed, because of everything we knew about when they were creating the first Terminus, that it was just super far away, and I took it very literally that the black hole bomb just can't reach.
Okay.
Yeah, I was immediately in my notes of why not just do that to New Terminus?
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to say? And that is the current answer. I think it's ambiguous enough that it's satisfying enough in the moment. But yeah, I think maybe a little clarity, and maybe we're thinking too deeply, but I feel like it's literally begging you to ask that question, and then it serves up an answer for you that I don't know how actually satisfied I am with it. I just, and maybe this is, I don't have any understanding of the physics of how the bomb works, but it's like, why would it have any like distance
limitation?
limitation? I mean, I got a black hole, seems like you could do a lot with that. And also those 3 planets happen to conveniently be within the range, while New Terminus
That's what I'm
not,
saying.
which is okay. I mean, if that's what it is, that's what it is. And, we accept the process to see what the results might be. But yeah, I was definitely leaving the scene with like a little bit of an eyebrow up. Not much, because this was crazy and it was awesome. And it was pretty much right in line with, I wouldn't say that what I exactly thought, because I'm pretty sure we ended maybe last episode, the episode before that, of being like, wow, almost anyone could use this bomb and I wouldn't be totally surprised. Like, Gaal could have used it, the MULE could have used it, Demerzel could have used it, Dusk could have used it. But it does feel like my original thought of him kind of wanting to recapture some type of legacy. Obviously, his hand in his mind is forced through these 3 traitors, and it's something that just not necessarily he was looking to do, but felt like he had to do given the moment. But it kind of alley-ooped him this opportunity to then also change his name, which I'm sure we're going to get to next of that conversation of now he wants to be Cleon the Consequential, which is just like the most explicit way to confirm that that's pretty much how he was thinking.
Yeah, it's tough because we're watching 3 seasons of a TV show and we're seeing hundreds of years, and they're meaning the characters in this TV show in season 3. It's been hundreds of years since Empire was really, really, really the big dog, right? They're still technically controlling most of the galaxy, the universe, whatever you want to call it, but they're still weakened at this point in time. Because in my head, if I'm Siri Farrell and I and I'm Cloud Dominion and even the Galactic Empire, the Galactic Council, I'm screwing everything up today. I would fear Empire still. But it is fair to say that as the centuries go on, it has weakened and they've maybe gotten a little bit more confident against Empire. But come on, we're talking about season 1, season 2. We're seeing lasers that can shoot people and destroy thousands of people at a time and erase someone's heritage, someone's ancestry, right? So I feel like they should have been more scared of what you can do if you antagonize Empire, or what can happen to you if you antagonize Empire. And the ambassador to the Foundation was like, don't screw with Empire. And he says it himself, don't F with Empire. I feel like they were, and this is not the right thing to say because he destroyed billions of people, but I feel like the way that they were antagonizing him, they were almost asking for him to retaliate in a bad way.
It was such a power play, and I'm happy that Dusk had his moment because, like, he's such a good actor in his own right, right? Like, we don't really praise him specifically, but he deserves all the praise too. And this was his episode of the season, and I think that he lived up to it. He even has the little cheeky line where it's like, "This is just to notify you guys," and then he's just like walks out. Like, it was such a good moment, and that leads into this next scene. Kyle, you already queued it up a little bit. He's still cocky. He's feeling himself. He goes into the Museum of Cleons. He says he wants to be the Consequential. And then this is when Demerzel, for the first time in the episode, reaffirms, like, you're still going to die tomorrow. And he doesn't fight back, which I expected a little bit more dialogue of him pushing back. But it's interesting. Maybe he will just take it. I don't really know. There's no way, because this is a TV show, and that would be crazy if this next episode he just dies and there's no notable Cleons on the throne. But the more important part of this scene, you could argue, is that he allows Demerzel to confide in him for a little bit. And that's where the name of the episode gets the title of The Paths That Choose Us, where Demerzel is having a Westworld moment, almost quite literally. Kyle, you called that out, of like thinking about the maze in her head and is everything predetermined, or do I actually have the ability to look at the different options? And it's just a philosophical conversation. It doesn't flip her character upside down or anything. It's just the natural progression of how she's been growing as a robot and like taking all these different perspectives in. So just more good Demerzel screen time. Nothing mind-blowing for theories unless you wanted to focus on something related to Dusk, but it's just a good scene.
I think I'm taking it like Kyle was, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Kyle, but the fact that Dusk is saying, all right, you're right, I'm dying tomorrow, that's telling me that he's going to throw down when it's actually time, because he was fighting it before. He went to Demerzel and was like, hey, he even went to Day. He was like, hey, you think I could get a couple more days, couple more weeks? There's a lot going on here. And they said no. And that was when we got that really cool line from Demerzel basically saying she's the clock and you're ticking to zero and I'm never wrong. But I just think that he's playing cool now because he's going to try to not necessarily surprise them, but he's going to, when it's time, throw down about it.
Now you see me like throw some smoke bombs on the ground and just sprint or something like that's what
you
he's
just
doing.
You see him running down the hallway. But I mean, not even theoretically, in reality, Day and Dawn are alive, the same ones. Yeah, and Day is making a bit of a pilgrimage back to the palace I do wonder if the Mule at any point lets the Dawn stuff slip. Not even slip on an accident, but tries to use it in a leverage play. Although you don't really have a ton of leverage just having one of the Cleons because they can just decant one.
Right.
So not entirely sure what the outcome of that will be, but like theoretically, like there's all the Cleons. They're all still alive right now.
Yeah.
So like if Day shows up, does it make it even more likely that Dusk then dies? Although maybe it's less because it's like, well, we can't really decant a new Day to be a good guy because we still got this fucking black sheep one that's out hanging. So you really need me around now.
If Day succeeds in his plan of freeing Demerzel, then there's nothing holding Demerzel to making Dusk ascend. So it depends on the order of operations of how it goes down, really.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to watch. And we might be falling into this classic. I mean, I'll say classic because I feel this way always of like trying to work out how we can keep a Cleon by the end of the season.
Never works.
But yeah.
Yeah. I think we'll get more into the conversations about Demerzel and what she'll be doing in the end game of this season when we have her conversations in the Prime Radiant and everything like that.
Yeah, and I'm ready to do that right now because they do split Demerzel and Dusk, that is, and then we have Demerzel going to the library and seeing the second Foundation agent all the way back from the beginning of the season, and she goes down the same path that Dawn did when he got in contact with Gale. And I don't want to over-explain this scene because I don't know how much I understand it. So we'll just talk it out. But the broad strokes are she goes inside the Prime Radiant. She talks to one of the founders of the Prime Radiant herself, being herself, Hari, and then who we've been calling Callie.
Right.
And then there's conversations about what Callie actually is before they dive into the history of the Robot Wars again. So a ton of things that we can probably talk about here. But I really want to focus on the Callie thing because she says robots are not made to stand alone. Like, you can see what it's doing to you. And I know you want me to be a robot, but it seemed to me that she heavily implied she was not a robot. Am I wrong? Or did you guys think that led to the theory that she maybe is a robot?
I took it like she's not.
Okay,
I took it like she's saying, I know what you want me to be, but I'm not that.
Yeah.
I don't see why she would say that if she actually is a robot. So this and some of the conversations in the vault were basically Foundation talk where I'm just like, all right, whatever you say, I get it. Or wait, I don't get it.
It's interesting the way she talks about the robots too. She always just Callie, she always just comes across really knowledgeable, operating with this quiet confidence. She is almost like mentoring or kind of guiding Demerzel in a way. It's just everything about her feels like it's like she's above everything that's happening. You know what I mean? Like robot, human, mentalic. They're just kind of like beneath her.
She's like a god.
In this like goddess like thing. And it just feels like goddesses don't fit. So it's not, it can't be that, it feels like it has to be something maybe more. And I just don't necessarily know what that more is. But again, I'm walking away from this just so giddy and just kind of happy about the fact that like this episode is really just focusing on Demerzel's existential crisis, this paradox that she finds herself in. She's having this conversation with Day. She's having this conversation with Callie. And she's, for me personally, I love Demerzel. Probably hates where she's at. It's probably never been worse for her.
Yeah,
but I love where she's at. It's great television. I really like it. I wrote down so many quotes. It feels like from all this stuff, but it's just like Demerzel is tweaking, and I'm just enjoying it. Sorry, girl.
The closer that she gets to Empire falling, the more pain and confusion she's feeling. And it does seem like it is like an inner turmoil that she really just can't handle. And when it comes to Callie, I just don't know what they're going to give us that's going to be fulfilling for me, where I'm going to be like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, I'm sure they'll figure something out. And I'm sure they have something written that's going to be fine. But we have a scenario where Demerzel is one of the creators. Hari's one of the creators. I don't know why they didn't name Hari's wife. Wait. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't name Harry's wife, and then they said Callie, and we know that she's a manifestation, but she's not actually Callie. So we know that Harry, hologram version, whatever version he is, can exist in the vault. So she doesn't have to necessarily be an alive person, but she has to
Yep.
be some kind of entity that was there working with Harry, and he just withheld the information from Gail, from the viewers, kept it from me, man. Demerzel was kept from us for a while, obviously.
Gail interacted with Callie's body, right? I can't even say that. When the
Well, it
vault door
was
closes, that was other Harry getting his biological body on the planet that looked like silo machines walking around, right?
so Harry. No, so there was a life form on the other side, but I don't think the door opened while Gail was there.
Harry tells her about Yana, and that as they're walking up, they arrive at the door. Callie shows up and she transfers Harry to her and then locks Gail out. I think there's an interaction there that
Okay.
happens, meaning like Callie was existing visibly to people.
Outside of
But
the
we've
radius.
already seen that happen on Ignis as well when she teleports biological Harry away. So we know that other people that are not digital are seeing her in the in person. So yeah, you're right. Like for sure, she needs to be able to leave a mark physically on things. And I agree with you. I don't know how they make that a satisfying answer now because she is a god, in my opinion, until we hear otherwise.
And Harry sees her in the Prime Radiant, and he calls her the Prime Radiant, and she says that in the scene. You want me to be something. Harry thought I was the Prime Radiant. She's manifesting as Callie. I just find it weird that neither Demerzel or Harry would be like, are you the third person that helped us make this? I don't know.
I don't know if the third person's supposed to be a conundrum. Or you saying that because Demerzel says a third mother in the equations?
Like I assumed Callie was the other, like whoever the manifestation of Callie is who is another person who helped them create the Prime Radiant.
Well, that's what I think that they're saying. I think Callie, just the mathematical work, the foundation that she created through the ninth proof of folding, is the third mother in the equation of the Prime Radiant that makes it possible.
So that version, that manifestation of Callie isn't, you're saying it's not a physical person, you're just saying it's the equation manifested as something in the Prime Radiant that
I'm
can
not
also be
commenting
in the
on
real world?
anyone's physical state or not. I'm simply saying that you seem to say that they haven't revealed to us who the third person is. Right?
Yeah. So I'm kind of
I don't think that that's what it was saying at all. I think it's
No, it's
just
not a mystery. Yeah.
Demerzel, was using. I mean, she's speaking kind of poetically when she says it, but it's just that in Demerzel's mind, it's her memories that helped create it. It's Harry's psychohistory, and then it's the math that Callie created. She's the third mother in the situation.
Okay, so the Prime Radiant just has something in there that talks to them and hangs out and is on the real world, and
Robot god.
yeah.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, we're getting it now from two sides of where Demerzel's interacting with it within the Prime Radiant, and now at some level, Vault Harry is going to try to interact with it/her because he wants the real body. He wants to be a real boy, the way that other Harry, old Harry,
he better make an appearance in the finale. I feel like there's just
Yeah.
no way they leave that dangling.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely, all of this is going to come to fruition at some point. We're going to get all this information at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious about Demerzel, and I can't tell if I'm misreading this, or it feels like Demerzel's making a logical assumption here of why the vision that Gail showed her is in the library. And because she is assuming like it's happening here because I gave the second foundation refuge. Like I offered the library as a refuge for Selden's followers. I don't know why she would assume that. It's Gail's vision. It's not crazy to think that Gail and the Mule just kind of battle it out and it happens to be in the library. Like Demerzel isn't there she's only there because she's taking Gale's place within the vision. So I don't know if I understood that.
So I took it like the part of the library was a secret, and it's where the robots hid when they were being exterminated or whatever. What are you laughing at me for? Am I taking things literally?
I'm laughing at all of us. I'm just anyone can buy a microphone and create a podcast.
Dude, this is the most complicated stuff that they tried to pull on us so far. Because I agree. Because she goes on to explain that it's literally a paradox that she's living in because she wants to help the Foundation. She knows it's against the Empire, so she can't do that in her code. But in the future, she does help the Foundation. That's like a living paradox. And that's when they start talking about, well, intent is important too. And you can get into all of that, the philosophical like pros and cons of like what that actually means for Demerzel. But I do think she for some reason, which I also didn't understand why, is confirmed in her head that she will be part of that in the end, and I didn't get that.
I took it like it was some part of the library that only she knows about, and she offers the refuge, and she saw the rubble, and that's the part. Again,
that would make sense. I didn't pick any of that up, but I can totally see.
So
that would also connect of why she's even bringing up the fact that the robots were there at any point.
She's saying it's something that many years ago the robots had to hide there, and I know Callie was saying it's under rubble and blah 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 whatever, but I took it like she's the only one who can give this refuge to the people, and she must have because she's the only one who can give them the access. It could be something like through the painting, like when she was in her prison, those kind of things. And she's saying, if they are there in the vision, I didn't tell Gale this, but that means I brought them there or I allowed them access. So that means I'm super confused because in my heart, I want to help the Foundation, but I can't help the Foundation because of Empire. And Callie, I'm taking it like Callie is saying, because this conundrum exists, you can just do it. And then your directive is based on your intent, and we can figure out intent later.
Yeah. How does that work, though?
Whoa, dude, you can explain things.
I can, dude.
I think that's a correct interpretation of it, of how I'm sitting with it headcanon right now after we talk it through. And I'm fine with all that. It's just it was shot in a weird way. And that was the question number 2 I was hinting at off the top, where I just needed you guys to help explain it. I think that was pretty good.
Yeah, I can't tell if it was. I feel just dumb versus they were confusing. That's how I'm feeling right now after Jimmy just explained all of that, because it kind of felt like they were just giving us visual information and just allowing us to read between the lines, and I was not reading between any lines.
I had to redeem myself after the Callie stuff, so I did my best.
Before we move, I just want to quickly shout out, and Christina BGC has been in the YouTube comments of a lot of episodes, adding a lot of good knowledge and answering a lot of questions for us too. And I know we talked, I believe it must have been last episode about kind of this Demerzel endgame of, because like who's a bigger bad than the Mule, and it feels like Demerzel could be the answer there. But it was also like, how could she get there? Because we know kind of in her heart of hearts, she is pro Foundation and things like that. And Christina just ended up leaving a comment that almost explains or like discusses this scene itself of Demerzel is actually living this paradox so much she kind of feels the pull and push of both sides and doesn't really know what to do with it. So prescient, you could say.
Heard that.
That good. Yeah.
Okay. And the only other thing we have on this planet before we go to New Terminus is the confrontation between Dusk and Quent. And I only bring this up because I was laughing out loud at his reaction to the kid destroying the maiden, saying, well, they do believe in reincarnation, so I kill all of them.
My goodness. And again, just throwing the number out. Billions. I'm like, gosh, that is ridiculous. Dusk says he expected her to react that way. Well, then don't act surprised when she starts yelling at you, bro.
He is such a smacked ass when he's like, you're upset. It's like, yeah, dude. Yeah. Why would you not be upset?
You can either have dinner with me or you cannot. Just decide right now. And she's like, "Are you shitting me right now, dude? You just
Yeah,
killed
it's
billions and
literally
you
yeah. Try to lock me up or have dinner with me. He's such a jackass.
Yeah.
He just doesn't really care so much. I mean, his reasoning behind it, beyond the things that we talked about before, kind of the way that he tells himself that it's fine. I thought the quote itself was pretty interesting, not in a way that I support it necessarily, but just the galactic powers are gears designed to crush the innocents that fall between them. It's how it works. He just chalks it up. That's the game.
It's
If
a
you don't want to play the
Cleon.
game, don't be alive in my empire, baby. I mean, that's all I
I'm the
got for you, you
boss.
know.
I'm the
He
boss.
even
Yeah,
says
he's
about Harry, he's like, he would do fuck all, man. What are you talking about? I'm out here, the consequential. I'm doing stuff. Harry wouldn't do anything like this. So
and he could have made his point by just taking one of them. Don't gotta take them all, man.
Which one? Which one? It's got to be the Galactic Council, right?
You gotta take the council, I guess, because
Yeah,
they're the
yeah,
ones making the decision here. I mean, everyone else is innocent.
yeah. All right, guys, let us go to New Terminus, and there's a ton to discuss here. We could
Yeah.
start with just the action-packed scenes that kicked off the episode, which was Gale running through the fields, and like we have this whole fake confrontation, which we knew, of course, she was going to use her powers, and she expertly kind of takes control of the warden. They have the interrogation scene. We can talk about that. And then Big Pritch shows up and takes them to the refugee camp, which is going to be its own 2 or 3 conversations. And she sees Torin there and Maggie. And then she gets a truth share moment of where everybody lets her into their heads. And we can kind of just off screen them catching up, which I think is a great writing device where they don't need to like talk it all out. They just share information. So
Yeah.
starting with the first piece, I just want to say that I love the idea of the mule almost implanting like a kill switch in people's minds, where if they are really going to break free from his love and his overbearing compulsion, they just die. And I thought the visuals of her dying was crazy, and it was creepy as hell with that smile on her face as she sunk away, and how it all connected to Gale's subconscious. That was a really cool moment. And then Pritch shows up though.
And their eyeball just turning.
Oh
I
yeah.
didn't like that. I thought it was a really cool visual. It showed how powerful the mule is. And I agree. Having the mule have this kind of kill switch where not only is it the mule making the decision, it's the person making the decision that if they are going to be released from the mule, they'd rather die because they love the mule. His power is ridiculous.
Mhm.
I like that they have to explain multiple times that he does have to be close to you, because that is right now the only weakness that he has with his powers. I guess unless he has Maggie and then maybe it amplifies it. But I agree. I thought this was a great scene.
I wonder how close is close.
Yeah.
Because he took, I mean, the Calgon thing, when he destroys it, they're kind of like in orbit on like in space from a planet that he's not on. And it's just like, do it. But I really liked all the visuals of this stuff. It really, I think for me is, I know we've been kind of, I'll use the word complaining a little bit about the mule and his characterization and kind of his role in the season, just from an underwhelming standpoint. And our good friend in the YouTube comments, Fizzo for Real, kind of mentioned that probably is, we're just kind of victims of our own expectation, which happens. That's the way things go. But this, I think, was more in line with what I was kind of always hoping from him. It was just like, it was dark. It wasn't funny. It was like, just the visualization of the water, and then this just continuing drowning motif, the way that it's kind of realizing itself in the real world with her body and everything was like, oh, okay, this is like creepy. It's really terrifying, like all that stuff. I thought all of it kind of hit home for me. And then the never known such love, like using the love aspect of it is weird too. And it's just kind of all culminating in a good way here. Again, though, I'm trying not to view everything with him through the prism of, does it mean he'll survive? Does it mean he'll die next episode? You know what I mean? Because some things are moving quite fast. We talked about the day stuff. Me personally, I thought Big Pritch showing up was like, whoa, okay. I thought that would be more of a storyline in a way. But again, if we're just kind of, it was a way to get us to Gale and Harry quicker, and that's okay with me. I'm okay looking at that result and being like, sure, like Big Pritch. He probably knew she was there, whatever. They have a mind meld. He's got the hots for her. that works.
Where has he been for the last episode is a question. I'm not going to dwell on the logistics of that. And then I will say the same thing about Torin. Like he ejected, left planet, and then came right back and found the refugees and it all worked out. That's whatever. I'm not even like, I actually don't even care about all that. It's just interesting how they decided to make that happen so quickly. When I felt like there was time to maybe show how they all got together. But either way, I liked what happened in the refugee base where they all just caught up. And then the more important thing is the Maggie stuff where Jimmy, are we back that he is the mule and that the brother is the actual mule is the brother? Because he says, of course, the line that I'm just going to latch onto, which is he saved me in the past and I still love him. I don't know love like his. It could just be extreme compulsion, but it seems like they're hinting at something here. And I just feel like the guess is still possible that they're brothers at the very least.
So we got a YouTube comment saying Magnifico is clearly the mule. Harry kicked everyone out of the vault because he saw he was in front of the mule and multiple people infected by the mule. My response to that is if you're telling me anything that we've seen so far in this season equals you saying clearly the mule, you either have spoilers from the books or you're very confident in yourself, because I don't think at all we've gotten enough for us to really say or really theorize that Maggie's the mule. There's been moments, and we've talked about every moment that was weird, things that the mule has said. I can't remember the exact quotes, but he said things about, I feel like I'm not living my own life. And we've had things where they say Maggie is the key to the latest crisis. And there's been things where even we're questioning, like, why does Maggie actually matter? Why does the mule really want Maggie back so badly? He has this instrument and it amplifies the mule's power, but at the same time, the instrument didn't even need the mule to work on New Terminus. So he has some kind of power within himself on this instrument. It's just a weird scenario where I get it, but I can't see how this clearly equals Maggie's the mule. If you're telling me that Maggie's the mule, that means that you're telling me that Gale is seeing visions of the wrong mule and everybody who is infected by the mule, meaning Euron Greyjoy's the mule, is seeing the wrong version of the mule. And even Maggie, who she goes into his head and the mule's there, meaning Euron Greyjoy. I can't really see it. But let me ask you this question. And this is very tinfoily, I think. But you really got me with Beta and her having power when you said last episode, she basically says, get out to the mule, and he listens. I'm not saying she's the mule, but we were talking about how she may be a secret mentalic. This scene specifically could prove that she is a secret mentalic with similar powers to the mule, because Maggie is conflicted for some reason. Mm-hmm. He's conflicted because the mule has power over him, and he has some kind of love for Beta still. And it's the only time anyone has been able to fight the mule and love, quote unquote, everyone drinks somebody else. It could just be a narrative showing us that Beta was so nice to Maggie that it's piercing the mule's love. But I kind of like the secret mentalic side of things for Beta, because we've been asking for her to be more because we like her a lot.
I don't actually believe that Maggie is the mule. I just like throwing it out there because the line of him saying, like, he saved me back in the day and then I love him, lends itself more likely that the brother theory is correct.
Yeah.
Like, that could totally be a thing. Like, even if the Euron mule left and then came back after being a pirate for years, saved his brother because he knows he's a powerful mentalic, and then adds him to his army, and now he's using him to amplify. That all works. But the Beta aspect of it, yeah, you're really getting me thinking about it, because that was one of the things I was going to queue up at the end of this podcast, was throw it on the board, or how, like, does anyone actually believe she is a mentalic? And if we do, one of two things needs to happen. One, we're not getting a time skip after this season, because what's the point? Or
Right.
2, she's going to have like this insane moment of it playing out in a believable way where maybe it does conflict Maggie, and then Maggie has a turn that hurts the mule, and like that's how they kill the mule. That's the only way it works without ignoring time skips, which have been super consistent for this show. So it makes it complicated, and it could even just end up being a headcanon thing where you can't really prove it wrong.
Right.
Because like mentalics are just existing in the universe, but I'm going to be looking out for it. And I also expect a payoff for Maggie in the next episode as well, regardless.
And I'm not, Yeah, and I'm not saying that if they reveal it to be Maggie, I'm going to say this show sucks, of course. I just need them to do it well, because my problem is you've been showing Euron through everything, and I get it. Unreliable narrator. If you can control people's everything, then you can control what they see. But to show us the mule and this version of the mule through Gale's eyes in her visions, him breaking through the vision, having this power. Are you going to show me a scene where it like flickers and it turns into Maggie the entire time?
I hope not.
I don't know. I can't really see that. And I don't think it's, while it has had some hints and we've talked about it, I just don't think, I don't, good story, good twists don't always have to be able to be theorized, but I would like there to be some breadcrumbs. And I don't know if the breadcrumbs are strong enough. But hey, man, I thought Callie was the third founder of the Prime Radiant. So who freaking knows?
She was. You thought that for a reason.
She's a person.
But I'm quite convinced that Beta is a mentalic. In my mind, the only piece of evidence that I was aware of that made me not want to think it was the fact that Sal could tank the null field. But we literally learned this episode, and I saw people online who were smarter than us and has been theorizing this, that it's just because it was supposed to respond to Gale's DNA, which Sal obviously has. So I'm like 90% sure that Beta is a mentalic. And I also don't think that fact or subsequent reveal needs to have any bearing on whether there's a time skip or not to season 4. I mean, that feels like it's just like a season finale reveal that has some type of role within a conclusion to this season. And I mean, it's going to have to do with Dawn, the way that she looks at him too. And it's also interesting that her and the mule both have these, at this point, we know this, these kind of motifs of love, and it's kind of twisted love, in where the mule uses it in the way that he uses it. And with her, it's this kind of admiration, this celebrity, this kind of what you could almost say like fake love and kind of like a parasocial love. She says it to Randu in episode, we'll call it 3-4, might have been 5, where she's kind of like, we make people, like, everyone loves us. We make people love us because they do like the streaming and they're kind of celebrities. And they even, I mean, there's a comment in this episode where I think Ebling says, like, when he's talking about Gallic, a celebrity, and he's like a real one, looking at Torin, and like that kind of parallel between the two of them, I think is, and again, they're fighting over Maggie. I just feel like there's too many breadcrumbs there for it not to be a thing in the finale. And with the mule himself and what is the kind of reality of that, there's way too much smoke for there not to be fire. There's obviously trickery afoot. There's something that we're not aware of that will be revealed in, I would assume, the finale. I mean, Hari even says, and this will be, I guess, the kind of second leeway into this maybe final scene we get with Hari and Gale, but he even says, like, something's up with his backstory. Like, it's not actually what it seems, and I don't even know if Gale really knows what the backstory. I mean, maybe they told her off screen.
I think he's just saying, I just
did Hari say? Yeah, okay. Because I don't even think she's aware of what the backstory really is. But Hari says, something's up with that. So I like this. So this is good that it's all like, man, we have all these pieces and we're not entirely sure where it fits. And he's got this other element to him. I'm a fan of all of it.
And I will say, if you could play it right, if you can seriously figure out a way to play it right where Gale from the very beginning was seeing the wrong person, say it's Maggie, say it's anyone else, and she was seeing Euron Greyjoy, but it's really Maggie or it's really whoever. If you play it right, that would give the mule that major power that we were asking for, right? We know that he's already broken, but if you go the next step further, then it's like super broken. And at that moment, if you reveal that next episode, that has to be confirmation that he's not dying. And it has to go into
Right.
season 4.
Yes. Yes. Because what's
So
the
that
point? You
could,
can't have that whole reveal be built around 3 seasons of this character, flip it, and then resolve it all within 50 minutes of screen time. I don't think
so
that.
this could be the appetizer, and everything we were ever asking for from the mule could come next season with the real mule. If this is actually what's going to happen, it could just be Euron Greyjoy. We don't know.
Yeah. I really think that the line about the mule's backstory not
I
adding up is
agree.
even more weight into the brothers being a thing. Like,
Yeah.
there's totally a chance. But let's leave that for now. Let's just talk about the whole conversation with Gale and Harry after the refugees bring Gale to the vault. She goes in, and this is my third time I'm going to be saying this, but oh man, the questions I had for this conversation, I still don't clearly understand why Harry gave the prime radiant to Demerzel besides to show intent to the mule is like how it was phrased. That was like the most confusing
No,
piece of this.
Not the
He-
mule.
he doesn't like organic Harry, man.
Yeah, it's for the other Harry.
He's just taunting him. He's trying to piss him
That
off.
so went over my head. My God, that makes so much sense. And that's kind of talks to his mindset and tone towards the end of the conversation, which would be that in order for this Vault Harry to help Gale and the Foundation survivors, he wants a biological body just like him. And that's going to be an awesome episode 10 thing where he's going to have some skin in the game, which I think was the name of an episode
The
when
last
Harry comes
episode,
back
yeah.
to life. Yeah. Wait, it was literally
actually
last
It
episode?
was literally at last episode. Yeah, I'm pretty sure because I was
But
looking
that
at
was
my
also
intro.
that was a
you're right.
phrase that we
Yes.
like talked a lot about in season 2. And
In
I
season
just thought
2,
of,
yeah.
I mean,
Why
this
he
is
comes back to life. Yes.
this is
Sal said it to him.
so random, and I just thought of this, and because it just connects a lot of these wires. But what if the entity that is Kale, what if that is like Harry now? You know, like that's what she took Harry away for him to make that transition into, he doesn't have an organic body now, but he is just now kind of in that position. And it just, because I feel like it would be so interesting if it's like he is the one having the conversation with Demerzel, talking to her about her kind of having this commitment to the Second Foundation and to psychohistory and the paradox. And then we have this Vault Harry who's kind of anti-organic OG Harry. And he's kind of saying, like, I gave the Prime Radiant to Demerzel, this paradox bomb, to force his attention, and that he kind of gets his attention, and that it's Harry actually having the paradox conversation with Demerzel within the Prime Radiant, that she gets into it. And then if it comes down to this Vault Harry actually has to then get his body, it's Harry is the one that he's
That
kind
has
of
to provide it to
confronting.
him.
We have this like Harry versus Harry kind of rivalry in a way, because it's so interesting that this Vault Harry is like, I wouldn't say he's evil. He's
He's
not
pissed off.
necessarily evil, but he has this like edge to him that's just so different.
If that is the case, Kyle, then we still need an explanation
A
of where
lot of
the
an explanation.
original
Oh, yeah.
Callie was that caused that transition. And I don't want them to waste like 20 minutes on explaining
Oh,
what
yeah.
biological Harry's been doing this
Would
whole
take a lot.
season. It would take,
Yeah.
and for it to be satisfying and to culminate in the right way, and then give the mule his time to shine, then talk about Beta, and then talk about Maggie, then we have to worry about like Trantor. Like, there's just too many things that I'm so conflicted. But I know that the season finales of Foundation are bangers, so there's going to be a million scenes. Everything is going to be 0 to 100. There's still potential there, but I think that's probably your more tinfoily guess.
Oh yeah, that just was like, how can we try to make this like awkward for Vault Harry and have like and it almost feels like it would be making it like a just desserts when he doesn't really necessarily deserve a just, like, it's not like he's evil and done something wrong per se to like have to be forced to swallow some crow in some way. So I don't know. It's just, there's all of these threads are they're really coming together,
Yeah.
and in ways that makes it so that you could have some whack things to say
Oh yeah,
about what the hell's
100%.
going on, which is fun.
Yeah, 100%. And Harry, meaning organic Harry, OG Harry, from the very beginning, had to have known that he's creating this vault Harry, and he's basically imprisoning him in this vault. And it's Harry Light. He is pissed off because he's Harry Light. He can't get all of the information he needs. He's not supposed to do anything else. He
Mhm.
basically was fighting back by talking to Sal and giving Sal information, and then using the Hober Mallow information, and then again giving the Prime Radiant to Demerzel. He's rebelling because he's pissed off that he was created for one purpose, pretty much, and his purpose is kind of done. Except he just shows up every crisis to be like, "Hey, what's good?" It's
Mhm.
just, it is something that Harry would do. But we talked about this where Harry himself had that happen to him where he got locked in the Prime Radiant and he got scary when he was throwing down with Gale about it. But he kind of did that
To
to
himself.
himself, but that other version of Harry. But yeah.
That was weird, not weird in the sense where he like experienced time in a linear fashion, it felt like, because she was in the pod for the 132 years and Harry was in the Radiant for that long. It doesn't feel like Vault Harry experiences time like that,
Well,
which
we
is
know they
interesting
tried
because
to do that thing for like one scene where they're like, "How
Oh
long have
yeah,
we been in
time
this vault?"
dilation. Yeah. But,
that is very true.
and that's interesting in that not that they've necessarily explicitly done this, but there is kind of like a parallel somewhat expressed between the vault and the radiant, and where they are these multi-dimensional spaces that people can occupy. And it seems like Vault Harry and the manifestation formerly known as Callie, now currently known as Callie, kind of can get into and operate within. They both can also manifest within what we would call reality, our three-dimensional reality. There's just, I don't, it can't be as simple as him just getting a body too. I feel like he is maybe missing the point of something. But again, now we're just like, there's another Harry storyline that,
Yeah.
okay, it got a lot bigger than it was before the episode. And it's like,
Mhm.
that feels like, is that going to get resolved next
I think
episode as well? I
like
mean,
surviving biological Harry is going to talk down Vault Harry. I think they're going to come to some sort of reconciliation, work together to help Foundation at the end of the day. But he might even tell him like it's just not worth it. Like I don't know. It really depends what the fate of biological Harry is, because if he becomes whatever Callie is and like is like a above death, why would you not dishing that out to other people and giving that gift? And I feel like they will be enemies in that case. But I do think that they're gonna have to talk Vault Harry down. Otherwise, like, what is he? The next crisis is like the Vault itself. Like that could be a season 4 thing.
yeah. Also, the vault feels like a way better option than this library
Yeah.
Yeah.
to shepherd the Foundation. I mean, they spent some time on it to explain it. It made no sense to me. Like about the spoon and those things. I
That was
know it
another one of those things where I
probably,
was like, whatever.
yeah, I'm sure it made sense. And it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of things we can pick around. And
I'm not sure it made sense, but
well,
whatever.
I guess more the perspective of, I'm sure that's actually how it would work if
Hmm.
possible, with the dimensional stuff. So it's like, yeah, sure, I'm not going to question it. Um, but again, just another thing that's like, all right, let me just poke around the edges of this and see how it fits into the larger story and all that stuff. There was a lot of that this episode, which I think we've established at this point, an hour and 12 minutes in.
I
Yeah.
will say that entertainment wise, it's still very, very entertaining for me from this episode, but there was a lot of that. All right, whatever you got to
Mhm.
say, let's move forward kind of stuff going on. And it does seem like they have a lot to explain, but like you said, Luke, they're usually bangers for the finales. I trust them. So I'm ready to have everything explained to me, or at least whatever they think they need to for now. And then the rest, hopefully, the next season. Put it on the board. Is Euron Greyjoy's mule the mule, or is it Maggie or somebody else?
He's the mule. You're on.
He's the mule. Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
You don't seem happy about it.
I don't know what the story can be that's like, or I'm sorry, let me restart that. I don't know what is off about him, like what that could be that would matter that much. Like revealing that Maggie is the brother, meaning Harry says there's something weird about him, and the reveal is Maggie was the brother all along, but he's not the mule. Like, is that really important to us? Do we really care that much?
I could see it more being that he's a very sympathetic character in the story.
Mm-hmm.
I could see it. It's just almost as simple as it's really not that sympathetic of a look at him.
Okay.
You know, where it
So
was like he was kind of forced to do it to survive because his parents were going to kill him. You know, that could be a convenient look at what actually happened.
Yeah, I think we all agree there's something sketchy, but we just can't figure it out. I said it. I don't know if I think that they gave us enough for Maggie to be the mule. I think that if they explain it well, hell yeah, hit me with the shock, and I'm down. Give me the twist.
It would almost have to be something related to the lines that we already mentioned on this podcast where he says, does it ever feel like you're not driving the ship, you're not living your
Right.
own life? Like, is it possible that Maggie is so powerful that he is literally using his mentalic abilities to control his little brother, being the face of Euron Greyjoy, but not actually the real mule, and he's just like doing that? Like, that could be something. I don't really know, because that would mean like I don't know. I'm just grasping at straws, but that could be something.
Everything, it would literally have to be like everything that Euron Greyjoy has been doing has been actually Maggie, and it's just flip-flopped in everybody's eyes. And maybe even the mule, meaning Euron Greyjoy's eyes, like he believes he is the one doing it.
That's good. I like that, actually.
Yeah.
So we'll
that could
see.
work, yeah.
We will see. It's definitely something very interesting, and we will have one episode to figure it out. One more thing for the board. I think we're all going to be in agreement here. Is Beta a Mentalic?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to say no, actually. So we're not going to be in
Okay.
agreement there. I just don't know if there's enough time to give that its proper shine, but there could be. And then I want to throw something on the board too. Does Gale survive? And then is there going to be a time skip after this episode?
So the one last thing that I will say is I don't, and that's definitely not the last thing I'm going to say, to be honest. I don't think, I'm putting it on the board right here that I think the mule is now going to last. And the reason why I'm saying that is we didn't really talk too much about how Demerzel again in this episode was saying, and Callie was saying, that visions and premonitions can be changed. But if it isn't being changed and they're having this throwdown on Trantor, that just adds a whole nother thing that has to happen in one episode for a battle between the mule and Gale on Trantor in the rubble. We haven't even, I know that they can jump around, but we haven't even left New Terminus yet. There is so much that would need to be done. So I just feel like if I have a real answer, my real answer is I think that whole vision is going to be bullshit. I think that it is going to be changed somehow. But I do feel like the mule will last just because it just seems like it would be major turbo drive.
All right, so take it back to the other questions. Is there going to be so in that case you're saying there's not going to be a time skip? And when I say time skip, I'm talking like not just like a year, but I'm talking like decades to 100 years.
If I am correct in my theory that the mule will last into season 4, then there will be no major time skip.
And then Gale, you're saying she survives?
I think she survives.
All right, Kyle.
I think Gale survives and there's no time skip. I think that they're really putting it in our face that it's this like preordained meeting, can't be changed. It is the way it is. Gale's kind of monologue at the end, she's saying, you know, like me and the mule know that were, heading towards this thing
Collision,
together, towards death. She pretty much says like she's aware that they're both going to die.
right.
And I feel like they're giving us this Demerzel thinking of is my mind a labyrinth or is it a maze? Does it have one endpoint or is there multiple paths? Or rather, is there only one way to get there or is there multiple paths?
Right.
And I think Gail's not realizing that so much herself. I feel like they're kind of doing that a little bit. They're not necessarily a switcheroo, but like they're showing us the left hand when the right hand's also kind of engaged in the similar struggle. Because I just, it's not going to be that simple in my eyes.
Yeah.
I feel like it all is going to be that things can be changed, things can be adapted. It's not just they both have to die.
Mm-hmm.
Last question. What do you think happens if we actually get Day showing up with the head of the robot and giving it to Demerzel? Question 1 is, do you believe it will happen in this finale? And number 2 is, what do you think will happen? Or if you have any theories.
So Lee Pace is definitely going to have his moment in this finale, and I think it has to be related to that. It's making me want to guess that there may be a time skip because like he's going to go there, he's going to give the robot head to Demerzel, and it's going to unlock something to the point where she can then start making more robots, and then we time skip into season 4 and there's just more robots on Trantor. Like that could be something. It just doesn't work with all of my head canon of like everything else we just went through of how many things need to happen in the next episode. And then that doesn't even consider the idea of like the break in the fourth wall of the whole writer change thing, which there is no technical plan from here on out unless they decide to go with the original idea. So there's just so many moving parts here. But I do think that Demerzel is going to have a change here. Day might complete his character arc because Lee Pace needs to shine. Like he's not going to have a huge, he's not going to not have a huge moment and acting role in this last episode. So I think he's going to be the catalyst for Demerzel, maybe even getting free and just having a full like butterfly moment.
I think it's going to happen in this episode, but I don't think the conclusion of all of this is going to happen. So I'm back on. There's an old saying in Tennessee. I know it's in Texas, might be in Tennessee, but fool me once. I'm back in, baby. These Cleons are all living. We're going into season 4. Continuous storyline. I think that just adds, again, this is another element to Demerzel's story. I mean, this whole episode, it's what responsibility may I have to discover every possible choice, no matter how outlandish. She isn't even in the realm of imagining that she could be the god of this religion that is supportive of, I mean, she might actually, now that I'm saying it, she probably does know about mycogen and all those things, but I don't think that that's maybe one of these paths that she's thinking of.
Right.
And now that I have come to this realization, am I required to discover and evaluate every possible path to walk a maze of the marginally possible? And it feels like it's like being anti-foundation, being pro-foundation. All of a sudden now it's being a god. And I just feel like all of that can't get resolved in one episode. And I feel like that's going to trickle into season 4 with our day, with the day, the dude abides. We're going to
Dusk
have
will not survive. I'll put that.
We're going to have
bank
Dusk.
account
Why not? Bring him on down.
Oh,
and we're going to have
Dawn maybe. Dawn has a
legs.
shot.
So you don't think one more for the board. What are the odds for you, or what do you think when it comes to Dusk? Will he go, or will he fight it? And you already said you don't think he'll survive, Luke. So
he's going to fight it, though. He's going to fight the Ascension, but he's not making it out of this season.
He's got the black hole bomb, bro.
We'll give you one. We'll give you one dead Cleon. You can't have the other 2. I'm settling. 2 of the 3 survive. I think Quent's quote of, you think that you're some big dog or whatever she ends up saying.
That's exactly what she said.
Yeah, right. But it's just, that's not the way it works. You are some small, I call you a small petty man screaming and pissing with fear as they load you onto the tumbril. It's just like, I think that that's actually going to be what happens. He's going to be like, no way. And then it's going to he's going to turn him into what, 3 grams or kilograms of ash.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely going to fight it.
You're too concerned with being correct.
I am.
Your heart's not in it.
I think the black hole bomb, like when he's fighting it, there could be a scenario where Demerzel literally just, as you said, Kyle, big dogs him because he's not going to be doing what's right for the Empire if he threatens with the black hole bomb. And she could be somebody that takes him out because he's not ascending and he's threatening Empire with a black hole bomb. So I could see that. But there's
That's
also
going off this episode. The black hole bomb needs to also probably be shot one more time.
Because let's not totally forget, I mean, one of Gale's visions gets brought up, but the other one being like existing within the black hole was like as far as she could see. So maybe she doesn't survive.
It could be.
Guys, well, we could talk forever. I'm not even going to put it on the board because I don't have an answer for you. We have so many theories, and honestly, this is what episode 9 did to us. It gave us a lot of questions. It gave us a lot of things to talk about, and it gave us a lot of, yeah, whatever. We'll see if they explain it kind of situations. But no matter what, it was very, very entertaining. Great stuff. Kyle?
I got one final thing to put on the board. So we're recording this Tuesday. It'll come out Friday, and I'm going to put it on the board that when you're listening to this, the Philadelphia Eagles are 1-0.
Okay. I like that. Luke doesn't care, but
nah, that's a survivor pool pick.
That is true. Picking the Eagles 3 times.
Okay.
3 times, Kyle.
Wow.
All right, guys. Well, go Birds. And that's it.
Cool. See you.
All right, guys. We are the Core Podcast. We gave you an hour and a half. Hopefully you were as confused as we are, or were you? Hopefully you're as confused as we are so that all of our ramblings could maybe help, maybe not help, maybe make you a lot more confused. But either way, we hope we entertained you for an hour and a half or so. Otherwise, guys, hit that subscribe button, please. We have a lot more coming on this Apple TV Plus feed, but ironically, we don't know what's next. We've had a lot of great emails of people letting us know what they think, some recommendations, but keep hitting us up. Let us know. What do you want next from us on this Apple TV podcast? We are going to find something, and it's coming very soon. But otherwise, until then, we have the season finale of Foundation. Luke said this before we started the podcast. We've been on a long journey. Season 1, Season 2, Season 3 of Foundation, and it's been a fun journey. And it's all going to come to a head in one more episode for at least, I don't know, another year or two. Once again, we are the Core Podcast covering all things Apple TV Plus, and thank you so much for listening.